You know, we are building. I never use the word rebuilding or anything like that. There's not 5 years to do that. So
now that we have Raiders owner Mark Davis defending his head coach Josh McDaniels and saying that Rome was not built in a day, basically implying that fans should lower their expectations and be more realistic and not expect too much this season for Josh McDaniels and the Raiders as they sit in 2-7, even though there are other first-year head coaches with a new team in the NFL today. The Dolphins, Vikings, and the Giants all have a better record than the Las Vegas Raiders. But Raiders owner Mark Davis and Josh McDaniels are saying the Raiders should be patient. Rome was not built in a day, but this really contradicts what Mark Davis said earlier in the year when he said that, hey, the Raiders already have some great players, the Raiders already have a great culture, now we're just moving to the next step.
We've got some great players in this organization right now. I believe there's a great culture in this organization right now, which is what they will find. They haven't seen that as much yet because they haven't seen all the players together. Now we're just moving to the next level. It's not a rebuild, it's not a reload, it's just taking this to the next level and getting to that Super Bowl.
So he said the next step is to win Super Bowls, win championships. You already have some great players built by John Gruden and a great culture built by Rich Bisaccia. He even went as far as to say that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler will eventually witness the great culture that the Raiders already have. And so yes, the ceiling is high. The Raiders had already gone to the playoffs. This is not a rebuild. That is the key thing that Mark Davis has said. But now he is saying that Rome was not built in a day. And you couple this with Josh McDaniels at the press conference today saying, hey, when you change philosophies, it's not going to happen overnight. So Raiders fans need to chill. It's totally okay that we are the second worst team in the NFL. The Texans are the only team that have one less win than the Raiders, because a big change doesn't happen overnight. But clearly the Raiders are flip-flopping on what they originally intended for this season. Mark Davis is now switching his tune. Now that Josh McDaniels is not successful, we know Josh McDaniels has a 4-year contract with the Raiders. It's going to be difficult for Mark Davis to get out of that. We know he's strapped for cash, paid off John Gruden already. Then he gave a 4-year contract to Josh McDaniels, who is a highly sought after head coaching candidate. So you know he's going to cost the big bucks. You can't pay Gruden, McDaniels, and a new coach simultaneously, meaning it's the Josh McDaniels time. It's the Josh McDaniels era, and he's going to be here for a while. And McDaniels kept on harping on the fact that this is going to take some time. He says he appreciates Mark Davis's support and says there's a longer view on how to make this a championship team. And the implication from the coaching staff, from the GM, has been lately that the Raiders might not have the right players, that the players are not executing, and that is why this may take some time. But this is very odd when you hear Mark Davis earlier this offseason say that the Raiders have some talented players, and you see the GM and the head coach bring in a lot of their own guys, bringing in 32 players of the current 53-man roster. 32 of these guys are guys that Ziegler and McDaniels specifically brought in this year. And then you sign a lot of the stars who had already been on the team. You re-sign Max Crosby, re-sign Hunter Renfrow, re-sign Derek Carr and Waller. And most of these guys are over 30, like Bill Williamson here is pointing out. A lot of these guys are over 30. This is kind of a go for it all, win now mode, and that's the kind of style. And when you do that, pay some guys who are over 30 who are already on the team, seems like you're in a win now mode. Giving Chandler Jones that fat contract, he's still guaranteed $60 million next year. So it seems like either the Raiders really did intend to go deep this year, and overtime after game, they realized, oh, this isn't going to happen. Or they knew all along that they were not going to do that well this year, and they made these moves looking forward to the future. But that doesn't make too much sense to me. Keep in mind, they traded a lot of draft picks, sent dead money into the future rather than paying it off right now. A lot of this dead money, you send it into the future, that's going to hurt your ability to get new players in the future. So why do all this if you knew you couldn't get it done in year one? And so we put a couple ideas out there. Either they had high expectations and then they realized after a few games, oh no, this isn't going to cut it. Or they had low expectations for this year and they're going to wait for the guys to gel together in year two, because a lot of these people are going to all be here next year. They're kind of locked in terms of their dead money. People like Renfrow, Devontae Adams, and Darren Waller. Or the third theory is they weren't planning on doing well this year. They could possibly be tanking because they want to get a different guy at the quarterback position in the offseason. Because all these guys are locked in for sure for next year. Besides Derek Carr, he is the one guy who has a 1 year out in his contract if he's released after the Super Bowl. But either way, there is a shift from Mark Davis where he's trying to say the fans should have had low expectations anyways, even though in the offseason at Josh McDaniels' introductory press conference, we know those expectations were set high. And ultimately, we will find out what's really happening behind closed doors once it's borne out in practice. But the way the Raiders have lost a lot of these games, it does does feel at times as if they are tanking. But the only way for the Raiders to prove that they're not just looking forward to next year, they're not just rebuilding, they're trying to gel with their current guys and see if they can put it together next year, is if they start winning games. Because if they continue to lose games, if they continue to be projected to have the number 2 overall pick, that's going to make a lot of people think they are trying to rebuild, start fresh, and draft a quarterback. And until they start winning games, I don't see that narrative change, especially when they lose games in the fashion that they do, having huge leads and then giving them up in unprecedented fashion. That makes a lot of people think that the coaches are not trying their best and making some odd decisions to help the Raiders blow these leads. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully they continue to win games, gel together, and this could really be about chemistry and just needing to get a couple key guys in some weak positions. If you want more Raiders content, make sure you check out this video right here and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next one. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.